Dollar. Right, we're on. It is the February IABC Leadership Forum. It is 2 o'clock in San Francisco, broadcasting live from the new IABC offices, just down the street from the old ones. Slightly more cozy, but definitely also more cost efficient. And we've got Melissa Duck waving at you just there. It is 9 a.m. in Sydney. It is 8 a.m. in Brisbane. And it's 2 a.m. in Dubai. So if you're still up at this time, we really do appreciate your time and attention. And of course, here in London, it is 10 p.m. We also have a number of guests with us tonight. We have Carlos Fulcher out of Philadelphia. We've got, in the same time zone, Dianne Chase out of North Carolina. And then finally, we have Ruth with us as well from the editorial committee, and we'll talk to her more later. We're also hoping to have a couple of additional guests joining us later. But we'll get straight into today's proceedings. As always, and as usual, you're welcome to ask questions as we go along. There's an interface through the Google Hangout here, which you can use. But you can also use the Twitter using the hashtag #IABCIEB, and we'll address those questions as we go along through the hour that we are going to spend together. So a couple of quick updates before we dive into anything else. We're fresh out of the Annual Leadership Institute. Is the biggest investment that IABC makes into its leaders around the world. It's a core part of our theory of change. It's how we affect basically the communication landscape. It's how we effectively move forward the profession. And I'm very pleased to say that we had a strong showing this year. We were up compared to last year on attendance, up on engagement, and that highly measurable number, Twitter as well. We were up 25% on the number of messages flying around the world and engaging a group of leaders much beyond the wonderful location that had been picked this year, which was in Long Beach in California. Just going to quickly go around to Carlos and Dianne and get any observations, comments from LI before we talk a little bit more about some of the things that we shared from the stage. Carlos, do you want to go first?
It'll be my pleasure, Michael. Thank you. It was great to be in Long Beach, California, and seeing our volunteer leaders from around the globe. There was great energy at the event. I think the venue turned out to be incredibly successful venue for us. It was a venue that brought everybody together, but at the same time provided venues for the individual sessions, the breakout sessions that took place in specific topics. So very excited. Coming out of the event, fully energized to carry the work of IABC for the remaining of the year. Hope to see others at the event next year as we start the planning for the 2017 Leadership Institute.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos and Dianne.
I would echo that the word energy. There was so much positive energy and just inspiration, which fit our theme, inspiring the leader in you this year. And I think it is one of the most valuable investments that IABC makes for our leaders in terms of just getting together and doing that in-person learning and sharing, connecting. The takeaways are really helpful and truly valuable.
That's great. And actually, a couple of highly memorable things that came to mind that a lot of people talked about. One of them was the brand work that the Nashville chapter has done, the rollout there. I believe the presentations are coming to the Leader Center in the very near future. But in the meantime, I'd say that I heard lots of people talk about that. Good work. And of course, you can find the brand guidelines on the Leader Center. And as Priya Bates always reminds us, it's not just the logo. There's many more things to it than that. There's the tone of voice, there's the values, and also the brand personality and so on. So if you haven't checked that out, do go and have a look on the Leader Center. A couple of other things that we generated quite a bit of conversation was around certification. So there was a lot of enthusiasm around the basic opportunity for people to step up and really prove their skills and credentials. And I know Carlos spent quite a bit of time talking to not just CMPs, so people who have already taken it, but also people who are thinking about it, and also how they can support it through chapters. And then another quick couple of things that came to mind was Robin McCasland talking about the fellows. So of course we have a call for fellows coming up relatively soon, and she shared a little bit more about that cohort and how they can support chapters and so on. But we'll cover many more things in the next hour. But I just want to share really the main news that we talked about on stage. First of all, the fact that we, in 2016, have a balanced budget, that we're saving $350,000 on moving our office, the one you can see Melissa broadcasting from, and also that we are continuing to invest our leaders in events, not just as the International Leadership Institute, but also putting on events around the world. So late last year, for example, in Basel, Dianne attended that, and a number coming up later on this year in North America and beyond. And we also talked about a look ahead to World Conference, and specifically one particular thing, which I know many people will be very excited about, which is the annual general meeting. And generally, I just get a smile and a sort of sense of bliss from people when I talk about annual general meetings. Or maybe I'm being slightly sarcastic, I'm not sure. But either way, we're going to mix it up a little bit this year. We're going to do it on the Saturday. So take note, if you're coming to World Conference and want to be part of that, then do turn out on the Saturday. The other couple of things that was really interesting and really worthwhile was, of course, all the recognition of our leaders, the leaders that are doing so much hard work around the world, specifically around the Chapter Management Awards and also the Regional Leader of the Year and so on. I just wondered, Dianne, if you wanted to share a couple of perspectives on that front.
Absolutely. You beat me to the punch, Michael. I would like to take the opportunity to just really give a shout out to all of the amazing work that was done by chapter leaders. Chapter Management Awards provide an opportunity for all of us to learn and to see what we can do to improve our leadership by sharing best practices and saying, wow, there's an idea of something that would really work in my chapter I haven't done before. So we want to raise the profile of those CMAs, and there's actually going to be work done to do that. We're thinking about adding perhaps a new Chapter Management Award. We have a team working on how we can raise the visibility of our chapters who are doing really outstanding work. And a great opportunity here to give a shout out to our Region Leader of the Year, Leanne Joyce from APAC, who is a shining star among our chairs. But if you don't mind, Michael, I'd like to go ahead and really give some kudos,
sure,
props or whatever, to all of our region chairs who stepped up to make this Leadership Institute the success that it was. So I'm just going to, again, say thank you to Leanne Joyce for her leadership with APAC. Daniel Munslow with Africa Southern, who has done amazing work, along with his Vice Chair, Carol Allers. Klaus Vlaskov from AMINA. Julie Ludwig, Southern Region. Chip Bush, also Vice Chair, Southern Region, has been very active. Kim Arnold with Pacific Plains. Mary Bogan with Heritage. Kathleen Bell with Canada West. And Rob Plant with Canada East Region. Outstanding Council of Region members this year who are doing great work around the world for IABC.
That's great. Thank you very much. Great. Any other things you'd like to share from the Leadership Institutes?
Just, would love to get input. As always, the survey is out now, so we are looking forward to strong participation in that survey. We want your feedback. We want your input. How can we make this huge investment from IABC the best it can be for you? We want to serve you by making sure we're providing the sessions, the opportunities to connect, the networking opportunities that really serve you. So make sure to fill out that Leader Institute survey, and we will take that into account and report back.
That's great. Thank you very much, Dianne. Okay, we're going to move on to our usual section around technology and so on, but I'm actually going to just make a brief comment that one of the things that were discussed at LI was, of course, also technology and also a little bit around customer service and so on. And I'm going to hand over to Carlos to give us an update on that front.
Yeah, my pleasure, Michael. So why don't I first talk about customer service. This is an item of they've come through at the Leadership Institute while we're in Long Beach, but it's also had come through the pre-LI survey that was executed to help us collect some additional input and feedback as to how we're doing from an operational standpoint and how the organization is delivering. So there are some a lot of information, a lot of discussions that took place at LI. We have taken that feedback and have created a plan which we're going to be focused specifically around customer service, among some other areas. And this plan is one that includes over 8 different action items. I'll put a couple of them forward during this call I'll be happy to share additional elements of the plan if it so pleases the group. But one of the things we're going to do right away is to expand our hunt group. We're going to change our inbound calling phone switch to include additional folks, so that as phone calls are coming in, we're going to have more individuals answering the phone calls, so that they go, there is a touch point, if you would, that's as people are calling in, they will reach, instead of them falling into a voicemail. So that's one of the very first things that we're doing, and we're taking that action now, so that we can address that. We have also, as part of the phone system, increased the number of people that are looking at voicemail. So if it falls that somebody doesn't get a live person doing the call, that we get that voicemail answer within 24 to 48 hours, business hours. The other thing that we're doing that's worth highlighting is we're implementing what we're referring to as a feedback loop, and it's really a survey on the services and the quality of the transactions or interactions that headquarters is delivering. And we're going to be including a basic survey that's going to be going out as part of automated emails, confirmation emails, transactional emails to individuals who are interacting with headquarters. And it's going to enable us on an ongoing basis to get feedback. That feedback is going to enable us to measure how we're doing, how we're tracking against that. And it's also going to be provided to the board so that the board has full visibility on how we're performing. Those are a couple of the major elements related to customer service. On the technology front, just prior to LI, we launched a new website enhancement or release that included quite a few elements related to MMA. We took that release through an extensive testing phase where many of our regional leaders participated. Also at LI, we received additional feedback, and we're going to continue our efforts to enhance the functionality and the features that are available on the website. So you will continue to see enhancements going forward. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for that, Carlos. All right. Any questions through so far? I'm going to cover at this point. Okay, I am getting a little, you can't see it, but I've got a little microphone here with a cue telling me that we've got some technical issues for a couple of our guests joining, but I think we'll try our best to cover some of those topics in another way then. But nevertheless, let's move ahead then actually to the guest that we do have with us. Let's do this on the fly. And Ruth, you're joining actually on behalf of John Clemens, who's the chair of the editorial committee. Can you talk a little bit more about the work that you and John and the rest of the team have been doing recently?
I certainly will be happy to share John's thoughts, and he regrets he couldn't be here, but he did have several things he wanted me to be sure and highlight because we are a recently reorganized committee and we've tackled several initiatives so far. So I'm just going to recap some of the highlights here. First, it came to our attention that there could be some confusion over the similarity in branding between CW and CW Observer, especially when the two hit everyone's email on the same day. So the committee wanted to, in addition, be sensitive to the frequency with which they received IABC communication. So we tested the elimination of CW Observer on the day when Communication World was distributed, and we didn't get any negative feedback. So the committee voted, and we really felt that people would probably appreciate receiving CW Observer 3 times a month rather than 4, and making sure it didn't come out on the same day as Communication World. And an extension of that really is that we've been working on the editorial calendar, and it's been finalized. To do so, we actually leveraged the input of the committee members, a survey that was completed by the previous committee, and I will have to say a considerable amount of work done by Natasha Nicholson and Jessica Burnett-Lemon of the IABC staff. The committee is partnering with those ladies to try to identify subject matter experts now to author the articles for the organization's e-magazine. And I'd like to call attention to one of our priorities in this endeavor. We want to be more inclusive with the global representation of our authors. We believe that will better serve our membership in a number of different ways, And also, we think it will help to differentiate us from some of the other professional communication organizations. And the committee is also considering a new offering. Shell Holtz has approached us with the idea of sharing the Circle of Friends podcast, and he developed that, and he would like to have that shared with the membership. So we'll be exploring a possible collaboration to try to make the content of his podcast available as CW content, or actually part of that family, and in turn that will also broaden the audience for his podcast. So we may have a win-win that we might be offering in the future, so we are looking at that. And just in wrapping up, I'd like to again recognize both Natasha and Jessica, because they have been incredible support to us. To say we've been an active committee in a short period of time is probably an understatement. And so these two women have been extremely responsive, and they've really welcomed the new challenges, and we have a long agenda ahead, so I'm sure John will have more to report the next podcast. So thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you very much. And actually, I'm pleased to say that there was a lot of debate around the editorial committee's work at the Leadership Institute, people really engaging with that. And I just tweeted out a link to where people can obviously contribute to CW. It always comes as a surprise to me that it comes as a surprise to people that, yes, actually you can send something into the New York Times, and you can send something to Communication World too. I can't promise that it will be published. I'm not the editor, but somebody will definitely look at it and take it into consideration. So if you're out there, you've done some interesting work, maybe a little bit of research or something like that, then do consider pitching in. So thank you very much for that, Ruth. Now, should we check if there are any questions so far, specifically relating to the editorial committee's work? And if they haven't got one online, I have one specifically from the Leadership Institute, which is around basically connecting CW into a global debate and so on. And I know that you've been looking at that as well. Is that something you could talk a little bit more about?
At this point, no. We were really trying to prioritize and make sure that we got that editorial calendar done first, and because the whole branding process of the CW and CW Observer had really surfaced more than once, we put our initial efforts, and again with the committee just getting started really within about the last month and a half to 2 months. I mean, that has not given us enough time to sort of cover all of the priorities that we have, but that is certainly on the agenda.
On the agenda, that's great. Okay, excellent, excellent. Thank you for that. All right. Okay, so go on.
Michael, if you'd like me to also add, we've really been looking at the guidelines and other things as we look at the contributions, and to your point, really want to encourage folks if they have ideas. Even though this editorial calendar is finalized, most certainly will be wanting to start ahead of the game and get that in the process next year. So don't hesitate to reach out to a committee member or to contact Natasha or Jessica. We're always looking for that, and the same is true for any authors you think that truly might be subject matter experts, which can include yourself. We're receptive to that as well.
Right, right. Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. Great. Now, just let's quickly go around the table here. Make sure, Dianne, have you got any additional questions for Ruth or maybe Carlos?
Well, you kind of touched on it, Ruth, in terms of the subject matter expert process. Can you explain a little bit more about that? If people want to suggest subject matter experts or actually submit themselves to be considered for inclusion?
Certainly. One of the things that we're looking for is making sure, as I said, the global piece is one of them. But we're also looking for variety. So I would say, you know, whether you work for a small company, whether you work for a large company, whether you're a consultant, don't think that you're too small or too large, whatever. The focus of the editorial calendar, which I'm sure will be soon available, or right now you could most certainly contact Natasha or Jessica, but if you see something that piques your interest and that you think would be in line with what we're looking at, we really did dive very deeply into some of the general headings that we have. And again, if somebody is on the committee, they might be able to talk to you a little more specifically. So I would encourage you to reach out if you want to find out a little bit more about some of the things we talked about. And we have developed, as I said, the guidelines a little bit more for each of those subjects, which could mean you might introduce a different thought that we hadn't even thought about those. So I don't think that some of the ones later in the year are necessarily etched in stone. So if you saw something even within the December date, if we don't have someone yet and you think that it would align itself with the subject matter that's down for that month, please, by all means, let us know. And again, just because it might not work into this time, we're really looking to develop that stable of good writers and good possibilities out there so that we have a lot of diversity also in who we have contributing articles.
That's great. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Ruth. We'll let you go so we don't take you all your day, but we really appreciate your contribution. Thank you so much.
Certainly. My pleasure.
Thank you. Okay.
Michael, if I could just make one comment
yeah.
on the editorial committee. I want to first thank John Clements and Ruth and the entire committee for the work that they have done. They've come up to speed very quickly in this one area of IABC that needed improved governance. And very pleased how the committee has taken on the task, which is a big challenge for the organization, and started to provide some leadership in this area. You had mentioned about the work also with the Circle of Fellows and bringing that under the portfolio of the editorial committee, and that's also moving fairly quickly. And I appreciate that because this is an area for the organization to expand portfolio, to bring a product that's highly successful in the Circle of Fellows under the portfolio of the editorial committee, and it's I want to thank you for that.
Yep. No, there's some really good work going on here, and as you say, this is a fresh start and new start for IABC, specifically looking at this much more closely and really trying to engage basically the organization across all the levels around the world in our flagship publication. So thank you for that. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move back to the main agenda, and we'll talk a little bit more about a couple of things coming up. I mentioned early on the Fellows Committee, specifically Robin McCaslin's work on that. We're working to appoint this year's committee. In fact, we should probably talk about a couple of changes happening there. So we had a Fellows Task Force work on basically reviewing a program that has been running for about 40 years, I guess. And they've brought a set of recommendations to the board. And the key thing is that we're going to have a full all-year-round committee rather than just a group of people stepping up just to make a selection. So we'll announce that in the coming weeks. But the other thing we're also going to do is we're going to make a call for the 2016 class of fellows. So those of you who have been to World Conference will know that we normally unveil a small handful of exceptional communicators who have contributed to the profession and also contributed to the association. So if you know of somebody that is worthy of that accolade, again, I'm not the editor, I'm not the selector, so I can't help you with that, but I can certainly encourage you to put something in. One other quick thing I should mention at this point in time, though, which is very important, which is that the selection process this year will have a slight change compared to last year. The criteria will be the same, but shock horror, a word limit will be introduced. Apparently, last year, a couple of the nominations ran to, I'm not going to go into it, but I think it was exceeding 10 pages. That's a lot to review. I think that's an old saying. I don't think anybody can agree on whether it was Pascal or George Bernard Shaw, but somebody along the way said, I was going to write you a short letter, but I didn't have time, so I wrote you a long one. And the same thing goes for good nominations. So if you have somebody you want to put forward, do make it punchy, because the group of people that get together and review these things need a fighting chance to get through the materials. All right. The other couple of things I want to talk a little bit more about from the Leadership Institute as well. Were a couple of the other initiatives that we had on the go. This year, for the second year, we had something called the Immersion Exhibit. So basically posters walking you through key bits of information around IABC, and I think those are coming to the Leader Center as well, so that if you are a leader and trying to basically onboard other leaders into your chapter, then you can use those as a reference. We also had discussions relating to that. Dianne, can I maybe put you on the spot and say, from those discussions, were there any that particularly stood out for you?
Oh gosh, lots of great brainstorming and masterminding going on there. But kind of just wanted to touch base on the Leader Center Task Force, Michael, and to let everyone know that we're getting ready to move forward again with another meeting. We are parsing out the Leader Center, which, as we know, is an incredibly valuable resource for all of our leaders, and we want to make it for leaders by leaders, so that the material is accessible, available, user-friendly, and hits the mark in terms of what you need on an ongoing basis. So the Leader Center Task Force is ready to roll forward. Again, as mentioned at Leadership Institute, if you have an interest in participating, contributing to your ideas as to how we can make Leader Center better than ever, please do get in touch and let us know. We are open to all content from you that could be considered to make that Leader Center even more valuable.
Great. Aha! And although sideways, I now see Theo Mary.
I'm sorry, and my apologies. I've been trying to connect for the longest time, and now I'm just using my iPhone. I don't know.
All right. Well, technology prevails. We're glad to have you here, and we'll move straight on to your segment, which is talking about the Academy. So, Theo Mary, welcome.
Oh, wow. It's my turn?
It's your turn. Straight in.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm happy to represent my committee here and give you a brief update on what we have been doing. I assume that people know that this is the inaugural committee. We just started last June, so our early work was quite foundational. We revised the terms of reference, and we developed the strategic plan for this year, 2015 to 2016. We oversee all professional development offerings for the association, and we advise the board on policy, standards, development, and monitoring of the workshops. Some of the work that we have done thus far is that we redefined the course categories so as to ensure that this is aligned with a global standard and the GCCC. We have the following course categories: research and analysis, strategy and engagement, consistency and strategic implementation, measurement, and special trends and topics. We have also created course syllabi. We have a template now, and we are in the process of finalizing 7 syllabi right now. Another area that we worked on is to ensure quality of the current offerings. So we revised the course evaluation tool to capture more information and more meaningful data. We do have a challenge of a low response rate. Participants are not really doing these feedback surveys, but we are addressing it, and we have a new process, so we hope that this will give us better response rates. We also created a new evaluation tool for facilitators, and Academy members observe and have a tool to evaluate the facilitators. We have piloted this. It's going quite well. And then the biggest project right now is a new LMS system. That's a learning management system for self-paced online courses. We do think that there's a market for self-paced online courses. We know that from different trends in education right now. But this was also a result from a member survey that we did a few months ago. People clearly said that they would like self-paced courses. And that also helps us with the different time zones, because offering online workshops for different time zones around the world, it was always a challenge. So right now we are developing the first 2 self-paced courses. We are hoping to launch those by the World Conference in June. And we are hoping that we can develop 10 courses within 2016. We do want to see how the first 2 go before making that commitment, but that's our plan right now. The platform of the LMS is called Learn Upon. It's one of the fastest growing LMS systems in the world. It has 1.5 million active users right now. We have tested it. It's quite user friendly, and it was quite economical if you look at the competition. We're also looking on how we can build a model to involve chapters in that process, and how we can have a business model where chapters can offer to their members these self-paced courses. We're looking at that very actively right now. And last but not least, we have a 3-year strategic plan that we're trying to develop right now. We have a new financial model for the next 5 years, and we're looking at a marketing branding plan as well for the Academy.
That's a lot. You've been busy.
It is. Thank you for the job, Michael. Thank you.
It's the least we could do. It's the least we could do. Very good. Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Good. Well, that's a lot of progress there. And I just wonder, could you talk a little bit more about the basically the career roadmap specifically, and basically the work around basically using that in the academy's work?
The focus that we have right now is for the strategic advisor level. So we are really focusing on that market as opposed to trying to do everything at once for everybody.
Right, right. And actually, really interesting insight from the Leadership Institute that you'll be pleased to hear about is that we work with leaders to look closer at their personal experiences and so on. And we actually confirmed an insight from previous events, but it was nice to get it reaffirmed one more time that indeed that is our target market, very much where we are most likely to play the best in the short term, really leveraging that strategic investment. So that's very, very positive. Great. And what, if I can ask you, is basically what's been the most challenging thing about this role so far?
I think the most challenging thing is that we are building the boat as we are sailing.
Yeah.
So we need to do a lot of foundational work, but also we need to have some short-term successes. So that's quite a challenge. And building the 3-year strategic plan is challenging because we spend a lot of time trying to understand what our role is and how we can narrow down what the Academy is currently doing, because it's nice to have a big vision and wanting to have a school for everybody, but we soon realized that we need to narrow down our focus and be very specific on what we're trying to achieve. I think we're getting there, though. We're getting there.
I definitely get that impression. I would say that you got a very strong team there, and I'm extremely grateful for the work that they're doing. I've tweeted out a link to the committee page so people can get to know the full team there. And I know you also have some support from Sharon Hunter from the executive committee working with you.
A lot of support. I'm grateful for Sharon.
Great. But also, you're talking a little bit about actually a pathology of committees, not unique to the Academy, but probably all over the world. A small group of people get together and decide that they can probably take over, boil 7 oceans and so on. But sooner or later, you realize that actually, in order to get something done, you probably need to narrow it in. And that's very encouraging. Very good. Have we got any questions, Melissa, for Theo Mary at this point in time? No? Okay. All right. Any questions from you, Dianne, for Theo Mary?
Unmuting here. Thank you for your great work, Theo Mary. Oh my gosh, I love your expression, building the boat while sailing it at the same time. But great progress. Maybe talk about some specifics in terms of actual course topics, subjects, headline.
The first two self-paced are research and measurement, and the other one is strategic planning. And we know that these two are, first of all, fully aligned with the global standard and really core with what we're trying to achieve pedagogically with our members and non-members, of course, with the profession. It's also something that we know from the survey that we did, that these are topics that people want.
All right, that's great. Excellent. All right, well, that's been really informative. We really appreciate you dialing in. We'll let you go. You're welcome to stick around, but we'll let you go. And
Well, thank you very much. And again, apologies. I was a little technically challenged today, and I don't even know why, but this worked, so we're fine.
So the irony is that this technology is actually used by Shell Holtz for his Circle of Fellows. And I think for once, it's the more seasoned people, if I can call it that, who seem to be outperforming, because I certainly have had troubles connecting to Google Hangout, and I'm not the only one.
It's not that intuitive,
just fine. So we must learn something from them in the future. So
Michael.
Yeah, Carlos.
Before we Theo Mary steps off the call, if I could ask her a question. I would appreciate.
Yeah.
At the Leadership Institute, Theo Mary, and you and I have talked quite a bit about this in the past. I had the opportunity to sit on a table that I facilitated around the certification initiative, and a lot of questions came up as part of that conversation around candidate preparation and the work that the Academy is doing to help individuals, if you would, prepare for the certification. I was wondering if you could talk to the thinking that the Academy is advancing right now as part of looking at the certification product and how the Academy can help IABC and you mentioned customers and members to advance through the certification program.
Thank you, Carlos, for the question. I know exactly what you're talking about. We have spent a lot of time talking about that, and we're very cognizant of what's going on and very sensitive towards the issue. The Academy and the Certification Council are totally independent, and that's the way it should be. We do not have direct access to any of their materials, and that's very important for the way that they operate. We do have something in common, though, that all of our course offerings are aligned with a global standard and the career roadmap, and this is the backbone of the certification. So theoretically speaking, everything that we offer is extremely consistent with the certification. However, the Academy cannot make any assertions that our offerings are better or than somebody else who might offer those courses, nor can we guarantee success for people who want to take the certification if they take our own courses. Is that fair? Do you need more information about that?
Thank you. I think that's perfect.
That really covers it, and it's an important question that often gets asked. So thank you, Carlos, for that. All right. I think with that, we finally let you go. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to turn to a couple of more things from the Leadership Institute, specifically a couple of the initiatives coming from chapters. So I mentioned the work that Nashville had done around the brand rollout. Another one I'd like to mention is IBC UK have an initiative where they're looking to tap into IBCs around the world for a little bit of video content, basically to use as they go out and recruit members, and potentially that other chapters could use as well. So I'll stick something on the blog around that, or get something out there so you can find more about how you can basically get in touch with the team trying to put that together. Apart from that, I also want to talk a little bit more about World Conference. You know, that small thing around the corner that we do once a year. And I just wondered, first of all, Carlos, could you just quickly remind us where is it we're going and what we're doing there?
Great, Michael. Yes. Very exciting topic that's coming up. We're putting a lot of attention to the World Conference. We're going to be going to New Orleans this year, between June 5th and the 8th, and it's shaping up to be a terrific event. We have, if you've missed, already promoted some of the first 3 keynotes that we have secured. Hell and Marriage is one of the last ones that's been out there, so do take a look at the website at wc.iabc.com, where you can see the entire program, how it's shaping up, as well as the keynotes already selected. You also see that we're going to be building in 2016 on the success that we had in 2015 with our sponsorship program we refer to as the Hub, which is a place where attendees to the conference can come and interact with solution providers and various companies that work with the space that we serve. So that program was very successful last year and continues to grow this year. We're going to have continue to have the solution provider theaters in the exhibit floor, where you hear firsthand from the exhibitors that are going to be there on how to leverage their products and their technology to bring that back to your shop once you leave the conference.
Great. And actually, talking of interacting with sponsors, of course, you can also actually sponsor. So if you run a small agency, a medium-sized agency, a large agency, you are a software provider, or whatever else, you actually have an opportunity, if you have something that is of interest of this large group of strategic advisors that are advising the chief executives and leaders in the world's largest organizations, with a governmental, non-profit, and of course lots and lots of corporates as well. Great. And the other thing that we've been going to have this year, of course, is the Gold Quill Gala. We're going to have a revitalized one. Maybe we'll have somebody along to talk about that closer to the time, to remind us to pack our black tie and all that malarkey. But also, I think, Melissa, you've got a little bit of something to share around how people can participate in getting the word out around World Conference.
Yes, thanks, Michael. Just a quick thing to let you know about. On social media, on IABC's Twitter account and our Facebook account, we're just asking people to share stories of connections that they've made when they've attended World Conference. And I know there are so many out there that you come to a conference and meet people, and those friendships and connections can often be lifelong. And we're asking people to share those stories, and we'll be drawing a random story from both Twitter and Facebook next week, and presenting the winner with a pre-conference registration. So please jump in and share your stories, and ask your friends and networks to share theirs as well with us. It'd be great.
Great. Thank you for that. Great. The other thing that happens at World Conference that is probably not so well known is some of the behind-the-scenes work that goes on. So Dianne will be preparing to step up to chair IBC at that time, and in line with tradition, she'll be spending some quality time behind the scenes, meeting with regional chairs, doing handovers for each region around the world. So Dianne, last year you were part of that process. How did it feel? Apart from very early mornings?
A lot of that going on, for sure. It was great because it's such an important time, as you mentioned, Michael, the transition piece. And speaking of transition, look for some fabulous new tools on Leader Center. I sound like a broken record with the Leader Center, but we are going to have some new board transition materials on there that can be used at the chapter level and also the regional level as well. So I think that personal opportunity for incoming and outgoing chairs from all of the regions to sit around a table together and to talk about what's going on in their region, some of their chapters, ideas, just that mastermind group. And the takeaway is huge, because when you add up the years of volunteering and experience and leadership in that room, it's quite a treasure trove. So it's a great opportunity. And if I might segue a little bit here, Michael.
You may.
I just, before time runs out, I don't want to miss the opportunity to send out massive waves of kudos to our winners of the Chapter Management Awards. I mentioned Leanne as our Region Leader of the Year, but drum roll for all of our chapters. Small Chapter of the Year, IABC Newfoundland and Labrador. IABC Medium Chapter of the Year, Kansas City. IABC Large Chapter of the Year, Dallas. and our international chapter of the year is Kansas City. So major shout out to all of those winning chapters.
Great, thank you, Dianne. And actually, I think we talked about actually bringing a few of those people on stage at the Gold Quill Gala. Why not, right? Or some other way of recognizing them at World Conference. This is a project in works. I might be unsettling staff with other plans, but we'll roll with it. We'll find a way of making sure that we recognize
all trombones and they can go around.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely some trombones. Excellent. Good. There is a deck where you can see all the leaders that have basically won in the last year. In fact, on the chair blog, I've put the citations for the leader of the regional leader of the year and also the chapter leader of the year. Specifically on that note, I hasten to add that a citation can be two things. It can be the $400 fine that was suggested for myself and somebody else for jaywalking in Long Beach just recently. The police officer didn't actually get out of the car, but in case you're in doubt in Long Beach, don't jaywalk. Or a citation could be a very positive note about something amazing that you've done, which is something entirely different, and that's the kind of thing that you can find at chair.iabc.com. Very good. Talking of succession and handover and onboarding and so on, of course, there will be a turnover on the IBC main board as well. The nominating committee met at the Leadership Institute, and you should expect that we will talk more about that in weeks to come. Basically, the process is that the nominating committee first and foremost gets together, evaluates all the candidates, and then takes it back to the board, who then in turn proposes it to the AGM. But do look out for that. But also look out for an open call. So we'll do the biggest open call in the history of IBC for opportunities to step up and serve on one of the many committees that we have across the world. The editorial committee, the communications committee, you name it. There are lots of opportunities to serve at the international level. So do look out for that as well. Now, it seems to me that our last guest is going to remain missing for the evening. So we're going to cover his bits just very briefly. It's Klaus Velskov. He's the chair of IBC Europe, Middle East, and North Africa. Specifically, we're going to welcome him on to talk a little bit about Eurocom 2016 in Rotterdam. The theme for the conference is Driving Business with Communication. It's the 18th to 19th of April. And who will be there? Well, it says here, sessions will be a mix of keynote speeches from corporate world and academia, some rapido sessions, panel discussions, and short solution presentations. And there will be people from energy companies, banks, engineering, heavy industry, and agencies, and so on. In fact, I believe he's got people from two very different organizations who actually sometimes meet, unfortunately, on a battlefield, so NATO and Red Cross amongst some of the speakers there. We also have an opportunity for you to basically pitch in and participate. So basically, go and if you search for Eurocom, or basically go to IBC EMENA, you should be able to find that. You can also, of course, reach out to Klaus to learn more about that. If you are looking to plan all your professional development this year, then now's also your chance to book, of course, the early bird for World Conference. So why not do 2 for 1 and come and see me at both? I might even buy you a beverage, something espresso sized or something like that. Great. Let's quickly check if we've got any questions. I think we had a question specifically around awards alignment. And let me just quickly bring it up here. I think I had it here somewhere. I think it was on the Twitter. It vanished from my screen again. I think it was me.
I've got it.
Yeah, go for it.
It's Amy Miller, and she said, do you have an update on plans for the awards alignment program in 2016?
Great. I'm glad you asked, Amy. That is a topic that we could bring up on a future Leadership Forum call. I've actually just seen Cindy Smeek tweeting that she's listening in, and she's the person I would want to give that update. So we're going to bring her back on a future call and basically talk more about that particular topic. In the meantime, Amy, if you want, you and Cindy are sitting next to each other on the Twitter, so you can also connect directly if it's an urgent update you're looking for. Great. Any other questions there? No? Okay. Well, we've covered a lot. We've had 2 guests. We had 1 virtual guest, and we had 1 that was sideways as well. So we've covered a lot of topics today. We talked about the Leadership Institute. We talked about increase in participation. We talked about the fact that the office move is now complete. And in fact, let's just do a quick check-in. Melissa, how's it been?
We're settling in. There were a lot of boxes to unpack, as I'm sure you can imagine. Anyone who visited the IABC offices over the past few years would have known that we had a lot of stuff, including lots of editions of Communication World and things like that. So there was a pretty intensive cleanup process to make sure that we put the right things in the archive and recycled the right things and brought the right things with us. But we're settling in pretty well here, and really I think bringing to life the environment of IABC as a virtual workplace, which has the right people in the right place doing the right things.
That's great, and I appreciate that it is a transition. Moving house is classed as one of the most stressful things you can do in your life, and moving office is probably not as stressful, but it's still hard work. So I really appreciate all the hard work that the staff has been putting into making sure that this transition has happened smoothly. And believe it or not, I have a little ping on my screen saying Klaus Velsko. It says, "Hello world, I'm here." So I can see him as a comment, but I can't see him as a person. But at least we know he's here in spirit. So the main thing is, if you've got questions, queries around Eurocom, we'll tweet out a link, but also you can reach out to Klaus. He'll be happy to help and assist and so on. And we hope to see you in Rotterdam, just like we hope to see you in New Orleans. Very good. We've covered a lot today. I'm not going to run through it all, because what we do after these calls is we actually post notes, just like we post notes from the board meetings, so you can go through those later. Should you have a question the moment after we finish this and kind of go, I wish I had asked that, you can reach out to any of us individually. As a group, you can also do it on Twitter. You can also do it on the IABC Chapter Leader Group on LinkedIn, which is a great place to exchange good practice as well. So there's lots of opportunities. The key thing is that if you don't speak up, we wouldn't know, and we really do want to hear from you if you've got something to share or something that you feel that we can do better. With that, I'm just going to quickly go around the table to get any closing comments, and then I'm going to give you back probably 5 minutes of your life from this February Leadership Forum. Very quickly, any final comments from you, Dianne?
I thank you for everyone who's participating in the calls. And reminder to leaders about reaching out if you need meeting the brand deadline. As we know, it's coming up. June is going to be here sooner than we know. So feel free to reach out on any level in terms of your brand adoption and making sure that we find resources to help you meet that deadline. Had one other thought and completely forgot it. So I'll turn it over to Carlos.
That's all right. All right. Thank you. And Carlos, any final comments?
Just want to thank all our speakers who came in and provided some more in-depth knowledge or information on the work that's being advanced by the committees, the 20+ committees at IABC, which, as you can tell just by the 2 committees that are here today, they've been very active, helping advance the mission of the organization globally. So thank you.
That's great. All right. All right. It's a wrap. We'll be back for the, let's see, January, February, March. March will be the next one, the March Leadership Forum. We hope to see you there. In the meantime, look out for notes from this one, look out for notes from the board meeting, and also, again, if you've got any questions, reach out. Thanks, everybody. Good night.